Ever wonder why so many ancient gods look like modern-day demons? Horns, goat legs, pitchforks. It's a look we associate with evil. But what if I told you that many of these figures were once worshipped, loved, and respected as powerful deities? The story of how these gods got their monstrous makeover is a fascinating, and often political, journey through history. It's a tale of cultural clashes, religious rebranding, and the power of storytelling to shape our perception of good and evil. Let's start with a figure you might recognize. Pan, a Greek god of the wild. Picture him, a carefree being with the legs and horns of a goat, often seen playing his pipes in the woods. To the ancient Greeks, Pan wasn't scary. He was a symbol of nature, rustic life, fertility, and spring. He was a bit mischievous, sure, and could cause a sudden, irrational fear, known as panic, but he wasn't inherently evil. He represented the untamed, unpredictable side of the natural world, something to be respected, not necessarily feared in a malevolent sense. So how did this nature-loving deity become a blueprint for the devil? The answer lies in the rise of Christianity. As the new religion spread across Europe, it faced a challenge: how to convert people who already had a rich pantheon of gods and goddesses. Outright banning these old beliefs was difficult. A much more effective strategy was to absorb and reframe them. This process is called syncretism, but in this case, it was a more aggressive form of rebranding. Early Christian leaders needed a powerful visual way to represent the ultimate evil, an adversary to their benevolent God. And what better place to find inspiration than in the gods of their pagan rivals? Pan, with his animalistic features, the horns, the cloven hooves, the hairy legs, was a perfect candidate. These features, which once symbolized a connection to nature, were reinterpreted as symbols of beastliness, lust, and chaos, everything that stood in opposition to Christian order and purity. Pan's carefree sensuality was twisted into sinful temptation. His wildness became demonic corruption. Slowly but surely, the image of the playful nature god was co-opted and transformed into the terrifying image of Satan we know today. This wasn't an isolated case. Take the Celtic god Cernunnos, often called the horned god. Depicted with the antlers of a stag, seated in a meditative pose, he was a lord of animals, fertility, and the underworld not as a place of punishment, but as a source of wealth and a realm of the dead. He was a complex figure representing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. But to outsiders trying to supplant the old ways, those antlers looked suspiciously like horns. His association with the wild and the underworld made him an easy target. Like Pan, Cernunnos was demonized. His image merged into the growing archetype of the Christian devil. The staff or scepter he sometimes held could even be re-envisioned as a pitchfork. It wasn't just the male gods who got this treatment. Many powerful goddesses were also transformed. Consider the powerful goddesses of the ancient world, like Inanna from Mesopotamia or Astarte from the Levant. They were deities of love, war, fertility, and political power. They were complex, commanding respect and devotion. But as patriarchal monotheistic religions gained prominence, these independent and powerful female figures were often recast. Their sexuality, once celebrated as a source of life and power, was reframed as dangerous and seductive temptation. Astarte, a revered queen of heaven, was later twisted in some demonologies into the male demon Astaroth. Her power was not erased, but it was inverted, turned from something divine into something diabolical. Even the tools of the old gods were repurposed. The trident, for example, we immediately associate it with the devil's pitchfork. But originally, it was the symbol of powerful sea gods, like the Greek Poseidon or the Roman Neptune. It represented their command over the oceans, their ability to create storms and earthquakes. It was a symbol of immense natural power, not of poking sinners in the afterlife. But in the hands of the Christian devil, it became a tool of punishment, a symbol of eternal torment. The sacred was made profane. This process of demonization was a powerful tool of cultural conversion. It wasn't just about theology. It was about power. By turning a rival culture's gods into your religion's demons, you achieve several things at once. First, you invalidate their belief system. You're essentially saying, the beings you worship aren't just imaginary. They're real and they're evil. You've been praying to monsters all along. This creates fear and doubt, making people more receptive to a new faith that promises protection from these very same figures. Second, it creates a clear us versus them narrative. The old ways become associated with darkness, chaos, and evil, while the new religion is positioned as the sole source of light, order, and salvation. This simplifies the world into a black and white struggle, making the choice for potential converts seem obvious and urgent. Any lingering attachment to the old traditions becomes not just outdated, but dangerous. And third, it allows for a smoother transition. People could still recognize the images, the horns, the tridents, the powerful female figures, but they were taught a new story about them. The iconography remained, but its meaning was completely flipped. This made the new religion feel less alien, as it incorporated familiar forms, even if it vilified them. This historical rebranding campaign was incredibly successful, so much so that its effects are still deeply embedded in our collective consciousness. When we see a horned figure in a movie or a book, our minds instantly jump to demon or devil without a second thought for Pan or Cernunnos. We've inherited a visual language of evil that was carefully constructed centuries ago for specific political and religious purposes. It's a powerful reminder that history is written by the victors. The stories we tell ourselves about the past, especially about other cultures' beliefs, are often shaped by conflict and conquest. What one culture sees as a sacred symbol of nature's power, another can twist into a symbol of ultimate evil. So the next time you see a classic depiction of a demon, take a closer look. Behind the terrifying facade, you might just catch a glimpse of a forgotten god, a god of the forest, a lord of the animals, or a queen of heaven. These weren't demons. They were the deities of vibrant cultures, whose stories were rewritten to fit a new world order. They are echoes of a time when the world was full of different kinds of magic, and when horns didn't mean hell, but a deep, sacred connection to the wild earth. Understanding this transformation doesn't just teach us about ancient history. It teaches us about the power of narrative and how easily a god can be turned into a monster. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history and mythology. See you next time.